Hello and welcome to Journeys and Journals. I'm Bernie Martin Beck and I get to meet the people who live in our community, Southern Oregon and Northern California. People who've done things that we've never done, but we can sort of enjoy it just by listening to their story. I'm thrilled the Eichmanns have bicycled all the way down here. Well, that's not quite right.
Not
Bonnie,
quite right.
welcome.
Thank you.
Brought the bike and
well, we almost biked down here this last summer because we skirted around the backside of Grants Pass on our bikes.
now how did you happen to do that?
Well, we it's a long story to get into how we got into Cycle Oregon, but it's a tour where you can sign up to cycle in Oregon for 7 days, once a year.
So, wow, that's a lot of riding. How many miles do you put on in 7 days?
Well, we've done it twice now, and the first one was actually the more difficult one. It was 2 years ago, and we started at the Snake River in Idaho, went clear across the state, and ended up at the Pacific Ocean in Florence, and that was 500 miles. I think it was 504 miles.
In 6
Bonnie,
days.
you did this?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, now, when I was learning about these people, they have a story that ties in, not just with bicycles, but this guy was pudgy, right?
Oh, 230 pounds.
And you're not a real tall fella.
Well, I used to be taller, but I'm close to 6 foot, put it that way.
He was showing off his belt just a little bit ago, and I thought you folks would really enjoy seeing the big man belt, because it shows that he really has moved a few notches.
Used to be about here, it's 5 or 6 inches.
My dad used to get out the ice pick and punch a new hole.
Done that.
But you've done it the better way. You kept getting smaller. How did you get smaller?
Yeah, I might have punched a couple of those myself. I've done that. Well, I have only Bonnie to thank for that. She's quite health-minded, and we were both getting, we're in our, I guess we were talking about that on our way down, we're in our 6th decade. We're in our mid-50s, which is a 6th decade, which is shocking. We just realized.
Yeah. I had to argue with him about that, but he was right.
That's right. And we're starting to feel our age. And I beg to differ with that point of view now, because I don't think you have to be old in your 50s. And I did for a while. I was feeling bad, and she started getting healthy. You might tell him
Well,
what you did.
he had sleep apnea, he had acid reflux, and
I was a little overweight.
high blood pressure. And I was having medical problems too. I had osteoarthritis so that I could hardly move my neck. And I was really feeling so old in my early 50s, and I was just very concerned about it. And plus I had lots of allergies. And then my daughter started me thinking, because she has really bad allergies. She got some cats, and she was so allergic she thought she'd have to get rid of them. But instead of doing that, she changed her diet. And
you mean diet has something to do with allergies?
It does. She got rid of her allergies, and she inspired me. And about that time, same time, somebody put this little book in my hands called Take Charge of Your Health. And I had no idea what it was about, but it inspired me so much. And there's there's stories of people in here who gave up on life because they had osteoarthritis, coronary health disease, diabetes, crippling diseases, and their doctor just basically told them, go home and take care of your affairs, because there's really nothing we can do. And these people took charge of their health, and they changed their diet, and they started exercising, and their life completely changed around, and it inspired me so much.
You said if it can happen with them?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. So I decided to give it a go.
She started losing weight and eating healthy, and I knew I admired it, but I've never believed much in diet for health. Everybody eats McDonald's and whatever, and everybody seems to do okay,
and 2 Cokes.
Oh yeah. But I was getting so miserable. I had CPAP machine. I was tested 2 nights in sleep.
Yeah,
and sleep
people
apnea.
may not know about CPAP, but why don't you tell us? Because it is life-changing, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. The CPAP machine. I don't know the real technology of it, but it's a positive pressure air when you strap on a mask, and you'd think it'd be very cumbersome and claustrophobic, but if you have true sleep apnea, which I'll try to demonstrate, when you sleep at night, your throat closes off.
And so you're not getting any oxygen.
Yeah, it can be
when
very
your
damaging
throat-
to your heart, and it can be pretty life-threatening
I
almost.
understand you don't get sound sleep either.
No.
if
And neither
that's-
do I.
So it was separate bedrooms, or
Oh,
It's
I
been-
would get
it's
up.
been,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was so loud. I sometimes went to another room, and sometimes we'd have company, and they were like, we were downstairs in the living room, and we could hear him clear upstairs. It's very
No,
loud.
bring that up.
Yeah.
you know, it would be, if it's life-sustaining, you put up with it, right?
It's almost a comfort when you get it on. You get used to it pretty quick, and but you know, I was, like I said, weighing close to 230 pounds, and
And
that's
that
a factor.
that is a factor.
And I was starting to feel bad, and getting back to what she had started doing and eating healthy, I kind of like resigned myself to just, okay, I'm not so big on diet, but I want to lose a few pounds because I'm just not breathing good, and I just want to start feeling better. I was just starting feeling bad. I felt like it's breathing off the top of my lungs, even when I wasn't sleeping.
Well, now you're a working man, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you've got a job, doing?
I'm a dentist.
And it'd be a shame to fall asleep right there at the dental chair.
Yeah, I wasn't having so much trouble with that, but I just was starting to feel lethargic and sick.
Well, sure, you're not sleeping well at night.
Yeah, I just want to lose a few pounds so I could feel a little better. So I said, I told Bonnie, I said, okay, whatever you're cooking, whatever you're fixing, I just make it for me too. Put it in front of me. Don't give me huge portions, and I'll just eat that. And she started feeding me, which was the best way to go on which is a lifestyle diet. We don't like to use the word diet, but a lifestyle change. It was the beginning of that.
Well, Bonnie, what in the world were you feeding the guy? Or what were you eating?
Well, I started kind of radical because my daughter got a book called Back to Eden, and there was a cleansing diet in there, which all you eat are fruits and vegetables. So I thought,
For
okay,
how
and you
long?
don't for about a week. It's
Oh.
a cleansing diet, and it's an eating diet, which is great because you have a great big plate of fruit, and then for the next meal you have a great big plate of vegetables. But after a week you get really tired of that. But then you leave off the processed foods. You start eating whole wheat, whole grains, brown rice, and you start adding those things in. And we could eat a lot, a big plate full of food, garbanzos, beans, things like that. You can eat a lot of that. And I left off dairy and meat because of the allergies. And so I left that off, and he didn't care. I made it taste good and he ate it. At first he thought, what are you eating and how can you stand that? And how can you, aren't you hungry? And then after a couple of weeks, he saw that I was feeling so much better. Within 2 weeks, my allergies were gone. And within a month, my neck, I can turn my neck now. I mean, I used to have to go like this.
And that's tough when you're driving a car and
It
you're
is.
trying to see around the.
is.
Well, then, this all fits together. Overweight, the sleep apnea, which just means that you're cutting off the oxygen for a few seconds every minute, or?
Oh, it could be you know, I imagine you could have many seconds, you know, up to a minute or half a minute where you can be clogged up sometimes. It's not real healthy.
And so instead of doing the surgery, you went for the diet?
Yeah, surgeries haven't been known to work all that well with sleep apnea anyway.
What I hear.
We hear a lot of people that lose weight get rid of their sleep apnea machines. And I believe
Yeah.
that's the key. He lost 50 pounds.
50 pounds. No
Yeah.
wonder that belt is.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I hit 190, I took the machine off, and it was fine. What I was amazed about, speaking of this lifestyle change diet, was that for years, literally decades, I had bottles of Tums and antacids every night before I go to sleep. And that got to where that didn't work, and I got a prescription for, in my case, it was Prevacid, which was a prescription for cutting back on the stomach acids. I would get so bad that if I was on a freeway and it hit, I'd have to find some place to get some Tums or something, or I couldn't go on. And after I started eating, within a week of healthy foods, after a decade or literally closer to 15 years of antacids every night, I felt like I could get off the drug Prevacid. So I tried it one day. This is within a week after I started eating good. And I was a little afraid because I took 30 milligrams every other day of this drug. And it worked great. It was kind of life-changing in itself. And I was afraid that the second or third day I was going to be in trouble because then I'd have to fight back and heal everything up again. Never again. Nothing from that day on. Just with proper eating, I just didn't realize that nutrition made such an instant result.
Well, now, this is the book, huh?
That's the book, and I found out later that that book is put out by an organization called CHIP, Coronary Health Improvement Project.
Okay, C-H-I-P.
Yes.
Okay, and Coronary
Health Improvement Project. And then I started hearing about this, that our church was going to put on a CHIP program that would last a month, and we signed up for it and we went to that, and we just were so blessed by that. I think I recommend that for everybody to go to one if they get near one, because people go to these health resorts where they spend $20,000 for a month to go through the same thing the CHIP program offers.
And CHIP, this Hans Deal,
Yes.
is a doctor,
Yes.
and he came up with this idea about better living without chemicals. Is that fair to say?
Well,
Yes.
yeah, it's a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. Some of the rules would be like eat food as close to nature, as close to grown as you can.
Okay, my husband's in cardiac rehab now, after 5-way bypass. I'm at the Grants Pass Hospital Rehab Center, and they're telling eat food as close to natural. And I'm saying, I've heard this before. Then they say eat 5 servings of
Fruits and vegetables.
and drink water.
Lots of water.
What about water?
That it's important. A lot of, 6 to 8 glasses a day, and especially when we talk about our bike riding, you have to drink a lot of water.
Well, I'm thrilled you brought your bike.
Yeah.
And I could do a whole show about biking, and let's do that.
All right.
But right now, tell me a little bit about Roseburg is your home.
Yes.
And that's where they had the CHIP program, and you got excited.
We did. We volunteered to help out, and
Oh, you did?
But we took the course, but we hosted a table, and so at the beginning of the course, they take your blood, and they run a test on your cholesterol level, and they take your blood pressure and your weight. And
Doctor supervised.
Yeah,
three or
doctors
four
are there,
doctors there.
nurses are there, and then at the end of the 30 days, after you go 4 nights a week, and every night that you go, you have a meal, and then you see the lecture. And then at the end of that 30 days, they take blood again and they test you. And everybody's cholesterol is down, and people who are diabetic are reducing their insulin, and some people who continue on the CHIP program who are type 2 diabetics can get off their insulin.
Wonderful news.
Yeah.
Now, the program was in Roseburg.
We've had it 2 or 3 times, yeah.
Oh, 2 or 3 times.
do it once a year.
And then, do you host?
We're involved.
We're involved in it. It takes a team of people to put it on, because the cooking and...
Well, I called Marcella Lynch, who knew about the program from California. How many of these programs, I mean, they're all over the...
They're growing, and they're starting to spring up all over the country now.
And I just talked to the one that they're going to have one here in Grants Pass. And the doctors are coming from Medford, and I'm sure some of the people. How far do people come to your program?
Oh, we've had them come from out of town, you know, Cottage Grove and
Milo, Canyonville, Winston, they come.
You know,
Young Colin.
if you have some good news, and that sounds like a real good news, if you got off of medication, I mean, besides Tums cost money, right? And you don't need them.
It wasn't just.
It's wonderful to be medicine free. In fact, we don't, you know, I'm 58, what are you, 55? I hate to
56.
say.
You know, it wasn't just the getting off the medication, but we felt 30 years younger.
Yeah.
I mean, we felt like exercising. We started feeling so good. I could bound up the stairs. He could bound up the stairs.
Well,
we don't need as much sleep.
I don't walk stairs, I run upstairs. But if I don't feel good, I walk upstairs. And I know, gauge my health by that, but yeah.
Because that's where the bike's going to come in, and big time. But you have other things that you're able to do. How about hiking? And
Oh yeah, we got into that too. We hiked Mount Bailey, and we've done it. Next summer we want to backpack into the Eagle Cap Mountains. We hear that that's beautiful. So we want to try to get into the backpacking thing.
After my husband's heart attack and 5-way bypass, you know, they said start walking. I mean, like the first 2 days he was home, he couldn't walk very far, but by now he's in a rehab program doing treadmill, and they're attaboy. You know,
yeah, that's great.
Once a week they have a program they invite me to go to and learn about cooking, and a lot of the things are the same like the cooking school Marcella Lynch had been teaching here on Better Life Television. Many of the same things about food as close to
Naturally as grown.
As it's grown,
and you
which
know,
just makes sense.
Yeah, and you know another thing, people say, I can't eat like that because I don't have time. I work and I don't have time to come and cook. But you know, it takes us less time because where we used to come home for supper and have a big meal that I have to cook, now we come home and we have toast and fruit. I mean, that might sound really boring to people, but we love it, you know.
The reason that you eat this light supper is what?
We sleep better, we feel better, our food is digested.
There's one trick that I found. I was talking in front of a group once, and I told them that I lost the weight. People can glaze over when you start talking about this stuff, but I mentioned something. This lady came up, you said one thing that caught my attention. You said you lost this weight without suffering. I said, yeah. And there's one, and I realized, yeah, because I've never been able to lose weight before. I've never been able to have diets that I didn't suffer. It's just guts and willpower. And about 8 o'clock at night, you just want to scream down the stairs and slam open the refrigerator door.
Or the
and look and
freezer
see.
door.
Yeah.
But the difference for me was to cut out sugar. And you go through a withdrawal for 3 or 4 days. And it's not long. And you tough it out for 3 or 4 days. And you have your biggest meal probably at lunch, and you can have a light supper, fruit and toast, but I've had a half a watermelon for supper and a distended stomach, you know. It doesn't have to be light. You need a lot of volume, but you know, but you do that, it's like drinking juice. You know you're going to be hungry by 8 o'clock at night. After about a week or 3 or 4 days of that, Bonnie said, how do you feel right now? I said, I was on a computer. What do you mean? Hungry? No, I feel just like neutral. And I was kind of surprised that, well, give another hour, I'm going to be in trouble here. And 9 o'clock had rolled by, or 10, and I never got the suffering hunger pains because I got over that sugar thing. See, I say that sugar gives you kind of I call it an insulin-spiked appetite. And until you get past that, once you get past that, then eating smaller amounts, eating healthy food starts to satisfy you for longer periods, and the nighttime smaller meal, you don't get craving at night, and it just starts to come together.
And what happened to the sleep apnea?
Oh, well, like I said, I took the machine off at I went from 128 pounds down. Actually, I rounded off to 230 is I rounded, but it's 228. I got down to about 190s, and the machine started forcing air into me. It was waking me up because it wasn't needed anymore. I thought, you know, this is not needed anymore.
I'm worried about him getting off of it because I thought, well, should you just be getting off of it? But I think you were off of it within a month.
Oh yeah.
And
it
this
wasn't
was
long.
as a result of lifestyle changes.
It was a lifestyle. It wasn't a diet. I mean, I hate the word diet. It just, I won't even hear it. I don't like to get on the scales. It is just a matter of learning how to eat different. And
Okay, so you've got a book here, a program. When did this program, CHIP, begin?
Actually, we started the whole CHIP program before we even knew about it, just from that book and from the things my daughter said, and from hearing about the story of the man. Before the story of this man I was talking about is in here, but I read it in a health magazine, and I was so impressed by this man that was so sick and sitting on his couch and couldn't even walk out 50 yards to get the mail, and he was so discouraged, and he went to a program like the CHIP program, and he got a lifestyle change, and eventually he was able to walk to his mailbox, and then he would walk down the street. Then he was walking a mile, then he was walking 2 miles, then he started biking, and he could bike 50, 75 miles a day.
What?
He was biking that much. He was 66 when he started.
Tell him about his doctor's appointment.
His doctor's appointment was, he drove 300 miles, rode on his bike 300 miles to his doctor's appointment in Calgary, Canada, and his doctor couldn't believe it and called the television station. And they did a story on him, and that's how I happened to hear about it.
Okay, so this is not just a local thing in Roseburg, or in the U.S., it's
in Canada too. And this man is now in his 80s, and he still rides his bike, and he still hikes, and he's still healthy. And this was a man who was a couch potato, who sat on his couch and watched television and smoked and drank and overate.
In his 70s.
In his 60s.
60s, okay.
And was giving up on life and was hoping he would die soon because he was so miserable.
Wow.
You know, anybody can do this program. Anybody, nobody should be sitting and being hopeless and saying, oh, my doctor's given me this bad news, and now what can I do, and just give up and think big surgeries are going to help. You can reverse heart disease. You can reverse diabetes.
She's speaking the truth, folks. She's speaking the truth. Now, you're both better off than you were how long ago?
3 years.
Yeah, my early 50s, I'm mad I didn't do this in my 40s. I was helping my son-in-law, who's a roofer, and he came down to re-roof our house. It's a pretty big house. I think it was like 42 squares, if anybody knows roofing. I jumped up, I said, well, I'm gonna come up, I've got a day off, and Friday afternoon I went up and helped him. I said, I can still work like I'm in my 30s. And he told me later, he said, I thought you were just exaggerating. But I got up there and we were ripping off asphalt shingles along with the shake shingles. And I was even shocked how hard a work that is. And I worked with him a half a day on that, and he was shocked that I could get up there on that roof and do that work. And I said, well, I really do have the endurance and abilities I had in my 30s. I don't feel any different.
Well, speaking of endurance, you have ridden many miles.
Yeah.
So how many is the most miles in a week?
Well, the first summer we just got bikes after we started feeling better. I bought a couple bikes and surprised Bonnie mountain bikes. And the first trip we did, actually before I bought the mountain bikes, we rented bikes at Diamond Lake and said, let's try this. And it's 11 miles around Diamond Lake. And we jumped on these rental bikes, and my knees were so stiff. I thought, I'd like to keep doing this, but if my knees don't come around, I'm just an old man, forget it, ain't gonna happen.
I'm just an old man.
But it didn't take long.
We thought 11 miles was a big, long distance, but we do 50 to 75 miles in a day.
In a day?
In a day.
That means you could have taken the bike down here from Roseburg.
We could have.
Like I said, we did this summer, in fact.
We did this summer.
But actually, on the first Cycle Oregon, we had 2 100-mile days. And you can do on a bike about 1/5 of what you can do in a car. If you ride a car, the speed limit, 8 hours, you'll go 500 miles a day. You can do 100 miles on a bike and 13 mile an hour average in 8 hours, and you're there.
Oh boy. Well, I've got to have you back so we can talk a little more about Cycle Oregon It is fantastic. I've never done it, but I have pictures of standing there taking pictures of you folks.
That's
And,
what I hear.
oh my, I have pictures also of the
former me.
former you.
Yeah.
I was going to say the fat man, but that's probably not very polite.
It's true.
It was.
Yeah.
But that's the way you look.
You know, that picture there was one of the, when I remember how shocked I was when I saw that very picture. I thought, that's not how I see myself. I thought, is that just a bad photo? And I realized it was me.
It was pretty true. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have another picture here. Is that the real you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that was me at 228 pounds.
So it's just a little hard to get the belt around. Is that what
That's
you're saying?
42-inch waist there, yeah.
42.
Yeah.
And now?
36, but I was down to 34. I hate to say I put a couple inches back on, but that's 3 years ago, and we're right in the middle of getting rededicated. I've actually noticed I'll actually eat a couple pieces of candy now and then. Candy was a no-no.
It's
I
easy to-
haven't had a can of pop in 3 years. It's just wasteful.
Yeah.
It's good. It's not good food.
You can slip back into your old lifestyle if you
You have
don't.
to watch it.
You know, come Christmas time and Thanksgiving, people come to our office and they baked us a great big thing of cookies and they make homemade candy.
And it's so tempting,
yeah,
isn't it?
it is. That stuff's always in your face.
Well, I'm thrilled with your story because you are overcomers in a great way. And now we're going to learn on the next show just how in the world you are in such great shape in your 50s and looking like $1 million.
Well,
Thank you very much for tuning in to Journeys and Journals. I'm Bernie Martin Beck, and I get to meet your neighbors and friends, and then we get to talk to you. Thanks so much for tuning in.